Hi, everybody, and welcome to Women Leading People, an interview series designed and created to inspire and empower women as people managers. My name is Evangelou, and I'm so excited to be hosting today Ashna Patel. Ashna, thank you so much for joining.
Hi there. It's so nice to be here. I'm so excited.
Thanks so much for joining. I've had a wonderful chat with Ashna, and I'm so excited to have her here today to be sharing her story. Ashna is Manager of Customer Success with Ascent Cloud, but she's also a master collaborator within the customer success community. So in addition to her full-time day job, she's also recently launched CS Ladies, which is a service community supporting and inspiring women within customer success, which I think is very timely, given Happy International Women's Day for whoever's watching. She's also collaborated with Brandon Sestron and created CS Insider, which is a curated resource which goes out every 2 weeks on everything that's happening within the customer success world. And she also finds time to run a book club in addition to this. So Ashna, I don't know when you eat or sleep, but I'm very excited to have you here today. And today's theme is leading without authority. So can you tell us a little bit about what that means to you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, first of all, thank you so much for that great introduction. I'm touched, and I'm so it's a pleasure to be here. And everything. So, a great question. I think leading without authority for me, I feel like it's just it's it's kind of like an emotion. It's an understanding that don't wait for an order to be given. If you see an issue, if you see a gap, take that first step to figure out how you can fix it and figure out that plan. So I think it's kind of like, for me, it's like that simple is you don't want to wait for that authority. I mean, obviously, like, authority is good, but it's just that simple. Is you find the time, figure out the issue that's at hand, and do what you can to be able to fix it. That's
Awesome. And also, anyone who's watching, feel free to post your questions, and we'll be very keen to get to them during the live. We've got hello, Evan. Hi, Ashna, all the way from Cyprus. So we've got
hello.
California, we've got London, we've got Cyprus. Let us know where you're joining from. So Ashna, I'd love to hear, how did you get your first management role then?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think I'm gonna backtrack a little bit about just getting into a little bit of my story. Is my current company, Ascent Cloud. I joined that company for the first time. It was actually named differently, GeoPoint. That's what it was named, and we merged actually a couple of years ago. GeoPoint and Level 11 merged, and we created a company called Ascent Cloud. But what I'm getting at is when I joined GeoPoint 4 years ago, I joined as a sales development representative, so SDR. And back then, there was a position open for CSM and an SDR, but me not having any tech background, I decided to go with the SDR position, see kind of, if I like them, if they like me, kind of get a feel of it. And but I think I always had, what I'm trying to get, I always had this goal in my mind from day one that I wanted to be in CS. So CS was always like kind of my passion, at helping people and doing what I can to help others and support others was always something that I always felt passionate about, which is also kind of reflects in my work today, what I'm doing in the community, and all of that good stuff. So to getting the position that I have right now, I mean, this is my first leadership position of a manager of a customer success team at Ascent Cloud. And it really goes back to my interest. So what happened is, every time during my time of being a CSM and whatnot, every time I looked at an issue or saw something, whether it was helping customers, helping team, I was always eager to kind of fix it. I think there's a part of me that's just like, I get so anxious if there's an issue and I can't fix it. So my first response to that is just like, okay, what can I do to make it go away, basically? And that kind of, always reflected upon what I did. And I think the other thing is, kudos to my company, Ascent Cloud, is because they also gave me a space to grow. And I think this is, I'm going to talk about my manager here, Aaron Bassi. And I think that the culture that we have and created at Ascent Cloud it just gave me that space to grow and fail. which is I think which is most important. It's like having that space to try different things and I guess to try and being a leader, like thinking from a leader's kind of a mindset, and then fail and then learn from your failings and learnings. So through that, I think that's kind of what I've been doing. And whether it's like a small things, little small things, whether it's a customer is asking for something, I find a trade of things that I can do, creating a slide deck or resources, or hey, my team member is kind of struggling with this. How can I put together a training or something like that that can help, or just being a helping hand to my manager. So it's all of that. I think my passion and my needs and the way that I wanted to do things, it kind of reflect on my work, and having that space to grow really helped me to be in the position that I am today. And when you do things with the right mindset, it's people do see you. So it kind of went back to the company. They saw it in me, and here I am 4 years down the road.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point. It's having a little bit of that space to fail, because, you don't always necessarily have the opportunity to lead without authority, right? I mean, have you ever found that you got some pushback when you tried to do that before? Or how do you approach that when, there is someone more senior who's kind of setting what you should be doing? How do you then go about taking that upon yourself?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's, you bring a great point. I think thinking of it as a pushback will always kind of be like, okay, well, it's their words against yours. But I think the way that you want to think is that you want to keep your mindset open to the fact that you're learning. You're always learning. And I think when you get that pushback, it's like, okay, well, let's talk about why your version is better than mine, but in a better positive way. It's like, what did I not think? So I think when I talk about leading without authority, is one of the examples that really, and I think it's, and I kind of learned it from my manager and then from the other people that are around me too. And it's because when an issue comes up, my manager don't expect me to just bring in the issue. She expects me to, hey, bring me the issue, but also brings me the solution that you think that we could have for this. So it's like always having that mindset. And again, if I get a pushback from her or somebody else, be like, okay, well, no, let's look at this picture in this way. That's okay. I'm learning. And that point, I'm taking notes, and I'm taking those notes mentally. So I think it's really about the mindset when it comes down to leading without authority.
So did you put yourself forward for the role? Was there an opening, or were you recommended? How did that work?
Yeah. So before this position of manager role, I was a team lead for a customer success team. So, and I was always so eager to, just actually, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So I'm a kind of a person, and this is a little bit inside of me. I'm a kind of person that I like to have a little one-on-one with myself at the end of the year. And I am like, okay, what did I learn this year? How much have I grown this year? And what did I do differently? What are the things that, and it's just a good practice that I like to do it with myself. And doing this, and I always take those learnings and then I talk to my manager. And I've had this talk with my manager last year too, is that, what, I am ready to do more. I don't know what exactly more, but I am ready to take on more responsibilities, and I can help this and that way. And because I've always been this way, I think they also saw the same, I guess, what's the right word? I think skills or mindset or whatever in me. And then I was, I think within a discussion with my manager, I was offered this role that, hey, so I'm a manager of a customer success. I'm working with our small medium business accounts right now. So I have a small team right now that I'm managing. But I think that's kind of how, okay, well, here's your skills that you bring to the table. Here's what we can use and also give you a space to grow. And it's kind of like what they say, it's like my little area for me to grow and also kind of learn from it. So that's kind of how it came about doing. It's like, I always like to have that. And I've had that discussion with my manager, and they saw it in me, and I was offered the position.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations on your
Thank
first
you.
management role. But I
Yeah.
also really like what you said about looking back at the end of every year. It's almost the opposite of setting New Year's resolutions. So you're almost, and we don't often do that, right? We're always excited to think, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But actually going back to see what maybe didn't work that well. I mean, how would you say that already taking a lot of that authority and taking that responsibility has prepared you when you're now managing your own team?
Yeah, yeah, great question. I think it's, again, I feel like I'm gonna be talking a lot about mindset in this, but it
Please
really
do.
does. It really does come down to a mindset. I think when it comes to, thinking about that, it's a and what I mean by that, it's like when I was a team lead, my mindset was, okay, well, I wanted to, voluntarily help or do more and take on more responsibilities and be a helping hand. But when you are in this position, you're also responsible for those. You're not just responsible for you and your actions, you're also responsible for your team and whatever, the task and everything that you have for that. So I think it's a mindset that, okay, well, whatever that I was doing, I can continue doing that, but I'm going to have to hold myself accountable and when it needed my team too. So I think it's just a shifting that mindset a little bit, from what you were doing kind of like voluntarily, but now I can do that, the same thing, but I'm gonna have I'm gonna have to hold myself accountable because there's others or the company people that are also holding my me accountable for this. So I think that's the kind of a difference that I see.
Yeah. Hello as well.
Hello.
Katerina from Cyprus. It's great to just see, these are the places where you already had all of these strengths. What did you find was more challenging about moving into that role, apart from accepting, everything being your responsibility?
Yeah, I think I think it's challenging. I wouldn't even call it a challenging. I think that it was something that I'm still, I mean, I'm pretty new to this, so I'm still kind of like learning because it's this, and I've been told about the specific things by my manager and some other leaders that I've spoken with in the past, is it's just keeping one thing in mind: they're not you. And it's I think it's so simple, but it's understanding that you can't expect the same result from your team that you kind of have. It's like you can set your boundaries, you do things in a certain way, but they're not you. And I think understanding that, shifting that mind a little bit in that terms, I wouldn't call it challenging, but it is something that I'm getting used to a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's letting go when you're becoming a manager from being this great individual contributor that always gets things done on time and to the standard that you expect. And it's very easy to go over. I mean, this is the way extreme on micromanaging and just saying, everything needs to be done my way and this way. So how do you then set the standards for your team, and how do you assess what is reasonable and what should be expected?
That's a great question. I think I want to take it back on some of my learnings that I feel like I did from my peers and leaders that I've gotten in touch with, is that I think it's really about setting those expectations and making sure that both parties that are and I think it's funny because it's really interesting how it really relates to, if I'm talking about customer success as a profession too. It's like setting those expectations ahead of time. And what I mean by that, it's like, okay, well, we're kickstarting this journey, and I've done this with my team. It's like, hey, let's just to put a session together. We're gonna do a little bit of a get to know each other. And what are your expectations from me? What are your goals? And what are my expectations from you? How can I help? And I think taking that information and then converting those into a kind of like a quarterly plan, or whatever we would call it, like a coaching plan or whatnot. I think that's something that can be really impactful. And again, I am new to this, so this is something also that I'm trying, but I've seen it being effective because then what you have your vision, what your goals that you're focusing on, and then you're coaching your team and you're helping your team, supporting them in the same manner. Because I think I say this, and I think I kind of tell this to myself quite often, but it's like it's about them. It's not about you. It's about them. And I think I hear this from my manager or VP. It's all the leaders that I've connected with. But I think it's really a good reminders when you come into a leadership position. It's kind of keep in mind it's about their success, because if they're successful, you're going to be successful automatically. So I think it's really, setting expectations and then putting some timeline around it, that if you need to, okay, well, these are the goals. How can I help you with this 3 months, 6 months, a year, a timeline, and just understanding where do they see themselves in 2 years and 3 years, and how can I support them in being there. And I think because of that, I can also kind of picture my timeline alongside of it. Okay, well, if they're expecting B2B here in 2 or 3 years or whatever, well, okay, so where do I see myself in 2 or 3 years after that? So I think it's about them. If you make them successful, you're gonna get yourself in that section too.
Definitely. And keeping it a two-way street, right? So it's like you said, it's not do it this way. It's how can I help you to do this? And, getting your team to think about how they can actually reach for those goals, but obviously within that constraint of the timelines that you have to work towards.
Yeah.
And we've actually got a question coming in. How often do you have one-to-ones with your team members, and what questions do you ask them? So thank you, Software CY.
Great question. So I have one-on-one with my team individually every week. I have it right now every week. And at the moment, we have an hour schedule every week. In the future, we might cut it down to 30 minutes. I don't know. And then we also have a team meeting, kind of like a stand-up call once a week, which is in half an hour. It's work-related or non-work related. Hey, we can either just get on a call and just coffee and chit chat, or we have something to go over and work related. So that's something. And to answer your following question on that about the one-on-one, what questions I ask is, so I've learned this from my leaders, and I think I try to follow this, is your one-on-one is your team members' space. Don't put it's like, you don't need to kind of, put a little bit of a box around it that this and this that we need to go over. You can keep in mind, but it's their place to bring in what they need your support from. So it really varies. I mean, there's a lot of time, yes, I do have some, some metrics and some stuff that I like to kind of go over in terms of accounts that are happening, if there's an issues or how I can help and whatnot. But also it's a place for them to come to you and bring in their questions, their whatever that they need. So it's kind of like, this is what I've learned from my previous managers and everybody, is that that's your place. I mean, that's your team members, a place. That hour is their place to bring you the question. So I think it's really keeping it a little bit open-ended. It really helps with that. But then again, it's like, that's weekly. I can then schedule my quarterly or every 3 months I can have those coaching sessions, or every month, once a month, you can have those coaching sessions that are really goal oriented. If in the beginning, if you set some goals, okay, well, where you are in this goals, what else do you need on this? So that can be done. But I think the weekly one-on-one that I do, it's really open-ended in terms of, okay, well, you bring in what you need from me, and then I can kind of talk to you about what I need, what we need to discuss.
Definitely. So I'm also interested, as you mentioned, coaching. Did you use any particular resources to upskill yourself? We know that coaching is becoming a really key part of, I guess, management strategies that people are employing with the people that they work with. What did you do to upskill and prepare yourself for this new role?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think I'm a book nerd. So there's a lot of it is also kind of like reading and viewing, a lot of, attending webinars but most of it is also kind of, I learn a lot from seeing and, experiences. So I learn a lot. And even today, I learn a lot from my manager, and then our VP, senior VP of our customer success team. And it reflects on the way, I'm always making this small little notes. I talk about this. It's like keeping your mind open, and also keep it open when people are not speaking. So it's like you're making notes of the small little things. Okay, well, if they're presenting or if they're talking to the team, like, how are they doing? And when they're coaching, what are the kind of the questions that they're touching? So it's kind of like this. It's not about just learning from books or webinars or whatever that you attend. It's also about the behaviors that you learn from when you're seeing a different people. And it doesn't have to come from other leaders or anybody. Sometimes I actually have learned a lot of things from my team members, or sometimes I just learn from some totally other team members that has nothing to do with customer success. It's just keeping your mind open and in a way that, okay, well, what can I learn here that I can then use for my team and to that. So it's a combination of a lot. I'm still learning. I don't think I'm anywhere close to it. But I think a little bit of is really just noticing these things and then having a little bit one-on-one with yourself. Okay, well, I should do this. I should focus on this. At the end of it.
I think that's such a key part, and it's come up in a few of our discussions about how important it is for a manager to just be self-aware. And I think the fact that you keep thinking about what is this small thing that I can learn from this situation and how can I apply that is so hugely important. And we've got a message here from Fran Byers as well, here from Richmond, BC, Canada. Love this tip for the one-on-one not being defined in a box. Yeah, I mean, we've all been in those one-to-ones where it's like, give me a status update, tell me how this is going, tell me how, and you're just exhausted by the end of it, because you probably had things that you needed help with and that you needed to know, but you're not really getting any time and space for that. So that's on the one side of this. And Ashna, I love your attitude about this, that I'm still new and I'm still learning, and I'm going to throw a question at you. I want to hear what's been like really difficult. Can you tell me about a really difficult day or a really tough experience, and how you kind of dealt with that?
Oh yeah, I think it's gonna be weird coming out of this, but I feel like I've yet to have a really difficult. I'm sure there's probably gonna be a real difficult day out there, but I think one of the thing is, and I think it kind of reflects back on it took me a while to break out of my kind of like a little bubble and just like take a first step and doing something and being in this position. It's just, I'm the kind of person, like I always put myself in this little box and I just like overthinking and all that fun stuff that comes with it. So because of that, sometimes I just, overthink a situation. And there are times that I feel like, and I've had times when an issue comes up or a team member comes up and asks for help. And I get a little bit, okay, what if I can't figure this out? What if I'm going to end up saying something wrong? What if I'm going to doing this and that? So I think those are the things that I'm kind of just learning and working on. But at the end of the day, I think one thing that I do, and I feel like everyone who's listening and will be listening, I can probably tell you this, is that, don't ever feel that you're alone just because you're in this leading position or a leadership position, because it's okay for you to rely on others. It's okay for you to ask for help. And that's the part that it's really, just because you're in this position doesn't mean that you have to handle everything. You can ask for guidance. And that's what I kind of do. I still go back to my manager and other people and be like, hey, I have this question, or I'm thinking in this way, how can I figure this out? So not exactly what you asked about over there, but I think it's important to remember that, it's not all on you, and it's okay to ask questions when you need to.
No, I think that's a great answer. I think it's really coming to, you sometimes overthink and you think it's all on you to fix, and that can be really, really overwhelming. So it's really just being able to remind yourself that you can still ask for help. You don't have to do things perfectly, and that you just appreciate the feedback that you have coming in. As long as you're open to that, your team will be very understanding. We've got a couple of comments I'd like to share. Another overthinker here. Thanks for sharing the tip.
Totally.
Join the club.
Join the club.
And then we've got a couple of questions about dealing with different members of your team, and
Mhm.
Motivating your team. Do you run personality tests, or do you perform personality tests for your team members? Is that something you've come across?
Oh, good question. I have not. I haven't done it yet. And honestly, have I thought about it? Yes, but I haven't. I haven't really dived into that yet. I feel like. Sorry, I'm hearing. Okay, I feel like. I think it's honestly, like, I've thought about it, but I don't know if I really want to just do that just yet, because I feel like me being open to my teams, and then my team being open, I think it's just continuously reminding them that you're here for them. It really, and I think I really believe in it. Like, I continuously remind them, but I also mean it, is that I am here for you. So come to me, went about a customer that's just whatever's going that way, or if you're having a hard day or whatever that is. And it's I think it's really important. So, and then again, it's not related to the personality test, so it's like I haven't really found a need to do that just yet, but definitely something I'd want to look into probably later on.
I think if you're paying attention to your team, we've got team together, everyone achieves more. And
there you go.
Sarabi here is saying, good point, Ashna. It's always okay to ask for help. Definitely. Thank you so much for your comments. This is great to see as well. And we've got here from Fran, body language speaks volumes, and the nuances that is not in a conversation, observing always to support the team on a deeper level. So I guess, is that something, if we're going back to overthinking, do you ever consciously think about your body language, or like how you're interacting with the team and your energy levels?
I do. I think it's funny because I've had chances. I think I constantly think about that. If they're having I don't want to call it a bad day, but like if they're having a situation or something, I don't want to come across that I'm gonna, I feel like I constantly keep in mind that you're there to support them. So just, support them. And I think you want to kind of also keep in mind that, you don't want to make them feel like, okay, well, this is a situation. What are we going to do about it and whatnot? But I think it's also kind of like just making them realize that it's okay and this will pass. We're going to work together as a team and we're going to figure this out, and this will pass. And then we'll get on to another situation, and one after that. So I think it's really, I think I also have to remind myself, because I tend to do that. And I mean, I have a history of, like I said, it's like a overthinking. Sometimes I was in a situation and I learned from it, but I've been in a situation where I would see a situation that I just can't figure it out. I've had days when I'd be like, okay, well, I just need to shut everything down. I need to go take a walk, because my mind I just can't think straight. I can't figure it out. And it's just giving that space to your team, and letting them know that it's okay to take that time and do that. I think that's really important. Is really kind of like, putting yourself in their shoes. Let's just put it that way. And putting yourself in their shoes and figuring out, okay, well, I went through that situation. What would I have done? What can I suggest them? And just making them understand, or making them realize, or just remind them that it's okay and it'll pass and we'll get through it. And that's what it is.
Yeah, like remembering there isn't really a silver bullet. And I think that's what you kind of bear the responsibility of as a manager. But on energy levels, I have to say, like, Ashna, when we first caught up to just kind of prepare for this talk, it was 9 o'clock in the evening and I'd gone through 7 hours worth of calls, and we just jumped on a call and there was just such good energy. And immediately, like, that is contagious. And I'm sure your team can feel it when they're working with you. But I think it's being aware that, just managing our moods, it affects everyone that we're around, particularly if you're someone's manager. Speaking to you and seeing that you're going to be positive and you're going to try and find a way to make things work, even if you don't have the answers, is super inspiring. So I'd love to hear, I mean, do you have any suggestions or pieces of advice for new managers?
I think I could probably tell you a lot, but I think one thing I would really focus on is communication. That's the key to it all. It's the clear the communications that you'll have with your team, the better it'll be, because don't wait and overthink a situation. Just pick up the call, pick up your phone, and then talk to your team about something, and don't don't ever give a chance to have those misunderstandings or miscommunications or anything. It's just it's that to the point. And I mean, it's always that other things. I mean, there's so many other things that you can do. You want to care for them, you want to help them, you want to support them. But I think it really comes down to having the right mindset and then right communication, and whether it's setting up expectations or talking to them about certain things. And keep in mind that you're also in a position not just to support them, but you're also in a position to help them, coach them, and nurture them. And what that means is sometimes you may have to be like, nope, that's not right. You can't do that. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to tell them that you don't always want to be in a place where you're just doing. You want to, I guess, create an environment that's a place where they can just come into you and share what they're feeling, and then you're just just chatting like that. So it's really communication. That's what it really comes down to. So I think while I can probably go on and on about a lot of things, I'm sure I have a lot to learn too. But that's one thing that I've really found impactful is the communication, setting the right expectations and following through it, and making sure that you're right on it.
And Sarabi says, servant leadership, you're doing it right, Ashna. So yeah, it's really caring about your team and where they get to. And just coming back to that, it's about them and it's not about you, right?
Yep, that's it. That's what it is.
So do you have some tips on communication? I guess when you need to have a difficult conversation, what would you focus that around, and how would you go about that with your team? What do you think is important there?
Yeah, great questions. And I think, again, I'm going to reflect back on what I've learned from my peers and leaders on this too, is I think, and again, not just for in leadership and all things, I think it kind of comes back to, I'm always going to bring customer success in it, I feel like, but it's like it comes back to the role of a customer success too, is when you have to have those difficult conversations or whatnot, you want to kind of keep in mind that, you're doing this so for the benefit of for them. Like, you're having this conversations, or you're bringing up this point because at the end of the day, you're thinking in favor of them. I think at the end of that's what you wanna have, and keeping that in your mind really helps, because when you do want to have this conversation, is yes, you want to be honest with them, you want to be candid with them, you want to explain what you need to, but at the same time, you also want to explain that why and why not. And it's just a place where, okay, well, you can have this today, or you can't do this today because this, and this, and that's how it is. But if there's something that they can achieve or have in a longer term, so then work with them to have that plan. So I can't give you just the one example, because I think it's always going to be a different situation when you have this conversations. But it's really it's explaining to them why you're telling them what you're telling them, and then it just and then boom, shut down, and then actually listen to them. Listening it's the important part. It's just hear them, what they have to say, what are their reasons, what are their thoughts into this, and then taking that as a feedback. So I think it's really important that you focus on what they're saying, what they need, and then when you have to have these difficult conversations, and you do those, but then explain them, and then remind them that this is in favor of and for them at the end of it.
Yeah, and Sharabi's saying, especially at this time when we're all remote, which is super challenging, clarity and clarification is really important. So it's not just, you're not doing what you should be doing. It's, you didn't do this thing, and maybe why? What stopped you from doing that, and how can I help? So having a safe space to talk is super important for a high functioning team. And yeah, that's becoming increasingly difficult when you can't just pull someone in for a chat. But obviously we have to create a lot of those moments when we're working remotely with these teams. And Ashna, you said this is still pretty new to you. For anyone who's considering a management role, I guess what fears did you have going in, and what were you worried about? And then maybe how do you see that now upon reflection?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think personally, my fear was always that I'm not going to be able to communicate well, and it's just like it's who I was. I feel like that's kind of what I would say is that the fear, you could have a different fear, but I think it really comes down to it's just like figuring out of why do you want to be in this position? Where do you see yourself with this position in 2 and 3 years or 5 years or whatever? And how is it going to affect your career? How is it going to affect your passion or whatever that you're thinking of? And because a lot of time, and I've seen this, that you may think somebody can make a great leader, but they don't want to have that position. And it really is up to you. It's like, why do you want to I guess manage a team, or why do you want to be in a leadership position? Because for me, it was as I explained earlier, it's like it was the passion of helping and supporting. So I wanted to be in this position where I can do a lot more of that, and then whether it's just going above and beyond or whatever that is. So for me, that's what it meant. It meant so much for me. And when I got this opportunity, I was yes, let's do it. I was really ready to it. So. And again, like I still have challenges, and I feel like in the future I will still have challenges, but it's overcoming and understanding why'd you kind of decided to do this in the first place. It really helps. So my only advice for you is just have that little, again, one-on-one with yourself and figure it out. Like, why do you want to do this? Why do you think this is a good fit for you? And then after having that one-on-one, after figuring that out, and you're still like, okay, well, I still want to have this, then go for it. You'll overcome any challenges that you have, because you'll figure out, how to resolve them and whatnot. So
Yeah, I think that's a really important point for leaders, to just be aware and be listening to your employees and not pushing people into management roles. I think both creating more senior roles and more progression for individual contributors, but also not pushing people because that's just a step up. Because it's not a step up, right? So when you were working as a customer success manager, what keeps you up at night is probably, this customer's not going to renew, or they're ignoring me, and why are they ignoring me? Whereas, can you tell me what keeps you up at night now when it comes to managing your team?
I think it's about how else can I support them. I think it doesn't really, I wouldn't say it's like a technical, it keeps me up. I guess maybe it does keep me up at night, but it's like, what else can I do? Like, what else can I do to support them better? How else? So then at the end of the year, at the end of the day, it's like I'm making their life a little bit easier, what they're doing a little bit easier. And then it reflects on the companies. I mean, yes, being a leader and being in this position, I'm thinking about, the account base that we have, and then the growth of my team and whatnot. I think those are the things now that I'm keeping up kind of up at night, is that, how else can I support them, and how else can I make their life easier with whatever, and that also kind of like, what else can I learn and I hone, what skills can I endeavor or figure out, so then I can be helpful for them. So I think that's also something that's always going in my mind, that is that something that I can provide, or is that something that I actually need to learn myself first so I can provide them. And you'll find that it's I feel like no matter where you are in your position, I'm pretty new, so I know it, but I know that never stop learning, and always keep a mindset that you're always, learn from wherever you can, because then you can reflect back on it and then help your team. So
yeah, and we've got great advice. Have clarity on your reason for that leadership role, and also that high performers are not necessarily born leaders, which is totally true. So
there we go.
Just be aware of that when you're considering, switching. But also, I'd love to hear just from you, Ashna, what your takeaways are from, if you're not leading a team right now and you've decided that you want to care about other people's problems and like helping them to overcome those. If you've decided that's for you, how can you right now in your role take or assume that leadership role, even if you don't have, the title or the authority?
Yeah. That's a great question. So I think first and foremost, it always starts with offering to help where you can. I think that's kind of where you put you in that right place is finding out this situation. Like when you see a situation, let me backtrack a little bit. When you see a situation, whether it's a customer related or a team related, you're in a team meeting or something, and somebody's struggling with something, or somebody needs a help with something, take, don't wait for somebody to give you the order, be like, hey, Ashna, go do that. Or can you help X, Y, and Z about this? Take that first step. Hey, I have done that in the past. Can I help you? Can I help you create some resources that can help your customers? Can I do that? So it's like, just taking that first step. And that's what it is. It's just like, don't wait for people to tell you. Just do it. Just figure out what you can do to support, whether it's your team and whatnot. So that's kind of the advice that I would give. But also along with that, it's like, be real and acknowledge the people that are the people around you, that you don't only want to support, but you want to acknowledge. If you're doing something in the team or collaborating or something, it's you're being the person, be like, okay, well, that person really helped me with something. You want to acknowledge, because these are all the qualities of a leader that when you're leading, you're not lead. I feel like in my mind, a leader is a person that can get down and get their hand dirty and do the job that needs to be done when needed. It doesn't mean that they need to do the day-to-day stuff that like working with customers or whatnot. But if it comes to that, the leader can. And I've learned this from my manager. She does it amazingly, and I've learned it from her and everyone. But it's really like, acknowledge the others and get your hands dirty when you need to. So keeping these things in mind, it's just like, not kind of keeping it in mind that I'm focused on this end goal and this is where I need to get to, but it's really about, where can I find this gap and what can I do to fill in these gaps, and how can I support, and taking that first step to figuring out, okay, well, this is the plan that I need to. My customer needs this. I'm going to create a slide deck. I'm going to put together resources or whatnot. So it's like taking that first step and go to your manager and they'll see it. Okay, well, you like to help out and see this and do this. So sorry, it's a long answer, but it's really like, taking that first step and not waiting for others to tell you what you can do. It's really go do it.
A great answer. And I think by that point, you're making it quite obvious to, your leaders that you can do this, because you're already demonstrating all of the skills and all of the qualities that a leader would have. So thank you so much for rounding that up. So I know we're coming up close to time. So I'd love to hear, Ashna, I know you're working on so many other projects on the side and sharing like this knowledge. So can you tell us a little bit about all the other projects that you're working on, and where people can find you if they're interested in hearing more?
Yeah, definitely. So, yes, I came across, I feel like not a long ago, but I think a few months ago, I came across a customer success conference that was going on at the end of last year, and that's when I kind of came across different influencers and this whole community of the customer success and everything that people have. And again, like as I was mentioning, my passion of supporting and helping and passion of customer success, it's like I found a solace and I found a place where I can put those together. And it's what they call it, a give back to the community. I do what I can to volunteer and help and whatnot, which is how like all the initiatives that I've been part of and I'm partnering up with, that's kind of where it started. So one of them is, as you mentioned it earlier, is CS Insider, which with Brandon Sestron, we started out this. It's a curated resources for everything happening customer success. You can find it. We send out this report every 2 weeks, but along with that, we're also doing a lot of events, kind of like networking, helping people network other people, and then just it just expanding that. What we call a voice of the community. It's like, okay, well, show and tell, you want to share something, let me give you a platform so you can do that. And it's really helping the I guess reach the people in a way that, okay, well, you can find all of the information that you need to in your busy day schedule, whatnot, from the CS Insider report. But also, you can also, put your voice out there in the community if you want it, and use the platform to do the same. So that's kind of where CS Insider is. And then we launched CS Ladies yesterday, and you're right, we aimed it for for the day, for the
Excellent
International
timing.
Women's Day. But it's a service organization that we put. There's 6 of us, and the amazing part is that all 6 of us have a little bit of a background, we have different cultural background. We're, I think, from 3 or 4 different countries, I believe, and it's customer success professional, and we put together a service organization to support and empower women in customer success. And what that means is we're going to have workshops, one-on-one mentorships, and you name it. And this can be a place where you want to, okay, well, I'm trying to break into CS. Okay, well, how can I get help? And I'm just trying to learn some tools and resources that can support me in customer success. How can I get help? Or just specifically, well, I just, I want to do networking. I want to meet more people. I want to break out my bubble. How can I, it's just helping women feel a little bit more confident, and doing this that I'm doing today, and able to do that. And I think it's just that organization that we have. And then, so that's something that we kickstarted. And then the other thing is I also have a book club, which I partnered up with Erica. And we are reading the Customer Success Professionals Handbook right now. We're almost done with that. And that's just another thing. It's a book nerd inside of me just wanted to have something. And I think it's a place that we've created, not just for just like a people to come and talk about the book, but it also like connect with other individuals, network with them, and then learn from other people, and then talk about this different topics that are being discussed in the book and how it relates to today. Because obviously it's like the pandemic helped us look at things a lot differently. So I think having this conversations really helps with the real time. So that's what's going on. And then sometimes we also hold panel discussions for topics that are kind of like underrated but really important in customer success. And I do it with my friend Rasika Kelkar. And we've done a couple of them. We've done it's like emotional intelligence and customer success. We have an article on it too. And then there was another one that we did was internal challenges for a customer success manager. So it's something, it's just, I'm trying to be active. I think it's just like, I'm just focusing on my passion. And to answer your question, to find me with all of this that's going on, it's LinkedIn it's definitely a place for you to find me. So just come find me on LinkedIn. And on my profile, you'll see all of this information to sign up and just connect with me. I'd love to chat with you.
And we're also open for the next couple of minutes. If you guys have got any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. This is your time. But Ashna, in the meantime, just because you said book nerd, I'm curious, what was your favorite book growing up?
You know what? I'm kind of like thinking about it, but it's like,
Say Harry Potter.
Oh my God, you opened a can of worm over there, because I love Harry Potter.
You love
so
Harry
much.
Potter.
I love it. I love it so much. I'm going to tell you something about me. I love it so much that which birthday was it? It was pre-COVID. Maybe a 3 years ago birthday or something. We went to Florida, me and my husband, and then my sister and brother-in-law. But we went to Florida to Universal Studio, and we just all that fun stuff, Harry Potter, going crazy. And I even bought the wand of I think the Dumbledore wand.
Dumbledore's wand.
Yes, of course. That wand. I think. Well, my husband bought it for me because I'm just crazy about Harry Potter. But so yeah, that was always the movie.
It's always a winner. And I wonder if generations after us will have this, because one of my first meetings as a customer success manager, and I wasn't used to like dealing with clients. So I walk into the office of this guy, and he's like many years older than me, and he's like running the department, very senior, and I'm feeling a little bit intimidated, and I'm thinking, what am I going to have in common to build some rapport with this person? And then he has the Cursed Child, like that had only just recently come out on his desk, and I'm like, Bingo. That's my common ground right there. So I hope this will continue in generations to come. You know, if in doubt, talk Harry Potter.
Yeah, no, I feel like I have all the even the CDs version of it. I probably have the books, like I have all the books and all of it. It's a must to have it in a library, I feel like. But apart from that, I think the other book that I really like was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I think that was always I it's funny because the way that I'm sitting, I can see my bookshelf, and then that's like the first one that always stands out to me too. It's a Sorry, what?
Can you give us a sneak peek of the bookshelf? This is what everyone really logged in for. You're thinking, how messy is the other side of my room? My partner is still getting dressed.
Yeah, I can probably, I don't know if I can turn this camera around or not, but it might be a little bit off here. Hold on. Okay, give me.
We're getting a sneak peek, everybody.
Okay, so it's not so big, but so here's the thing. Okay, well, before I see anything, we do have a bookshelf where it's like, yeah, there is a lot other things than just books going on it, but I have books like everywhere in the house. That's the thing. And I also even have Kindle. So in my bookshelf in my living room, there's books, but I have on my right hand side, there's like 5 different books. There's Kindle. I have books in my room and on my desk, and it's yeah. So I can show you, but it's not going to justify the amount of books that I have in just one place. And it's I'm really at a place when my husband's like, well, why did you even get a Kindle if you were just going to purchase all the book? But you know, the feeling of the book in your hand is really something. Yeah. So
it is just the sheer volume of books. Okay, we won't do it justice, but you know, more people have logged on right now because I think the anticipation has been built up for what's happening on Ashna's bookshelf.
Okay, all right. Let me do this. Let me do a little quick view. Let me move things around. Probably not going to be pretty, but
everyone who's watching this is very lucky.
I don't know. It's like it's a little one.
Look at that. It's a little one, but we can see all the books there.
Yeah, it's like that. There's a lot going on.
And it looks sunny outside still, which is pretty great. I mean, it's kind of dark outside my window. I have nothing that exciting to show. But yeah, I mean, we're opened up for questions, but it seems that there is no one against Harry Potter, which I'm very happy about. Great questions. Question for Ashna. Time management tips on achieving personal KPIs and for employee management.
Wow. Yeah. So this is a good one. I feel like I haven't really put together a particular, I would say like an agenda or processes or something that when it comes to time management. But I think one thing is that I have realized, and I'm kind of learning through, is, you know, block time in your day that you can just work on things that needs to get done for your team, and then block time in your day, whether it's like later in the day or something like that, that you need to just focus on just like for yourself. One thing I would actually, I don't know if it really directs your question or not, but I would really recommend people doing, and I this is a practice that I do. I always create my to-do list for the next day, the day before. So what it means is, like, I always take time at the end of the day to reflect on whatever's going on, and especially for my team, well, they need this and that, and I think figuring that out, so then I can plan out my next day ahead of time. So things like this. And then when it comes to personal KPIs and employee management, I mean, it's really, you know, just giving yourself time. And what I've seen is the shift on my calendar, literally from customer appointments to internal meetings, being in these positions. And I think being mindful about the meetings that you're being invited to or being thrown at your calendar or that you're being part of. And it's okay to not attend the ones that you don't need to be on, so that you can focus on the other things that you need to. So I think these are the different things that you can kind of keep in mind, that, you know, just because you've been invited, you know, kind of think about, okay, what at the end of this meeting, or at the end of this time or this hour, what am I going to get out of it? If I can use this time in something else, wouldn't that affect better with what you're trying to do or trying to achieve? So it's like just having that, I think being self-aware of that situation, I think that really helps. So blocking time really helps, and just be, you know, share with your team and be real with it. Hey, if you really need me for something, here's the time that I'm really gonna block it. You guys can bring in questions or something. Again, like you always can be available, whatnot. But it's that's what I'm finding, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be super honest here, is I haven't mastered it yet. I don't think I'm nowhere near mastering that, but I think that's what I'm kind of realizing, and relying on some, like, project management tools. Like I use Trello right now, and relying on those so you can manage, differently. In my Trello, like I have a section where these are the things that I need to do for my team. These are the things that I need to get done. Here are my follow-ups. Here's what's completed. What, like, you figure out your kind of a flow. But that's what I would say is rely on the things, the resources that you have around you, and then give yourself time to reflect on, because that'll really help with anything, whether you're in a leadership role, you're a customer success manager, or whoever you are. Reflection really helps.
Yeah, I totally agree with just time boxing a certain block to just work and reflect on the things that you need to do. I think it came up with my team just today. Someone said that I thought I'd have a quiet month in March and that I'd be able to fit in all the stuff that I wanted to do. But the reality is, when you work with customers, there's always going to be more work, right? There's always going to be more that you could do, something more that you could build in, something more that you could offer. And that's the same when you're managing a team. So, Sarabi says, thank you for answers my question. But yeah, just blocking out time and making sure that you can go for a walk or whatever it is you need to do to reflect. But yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Have we got any other questions? I know we're coming up to time. We'll take one more if there is before we go on to the evening. But, the energy levels have stayed up. So thank you, Ashna. Even late in the evening, I'm like, this is great. I'm enjoying this chat.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I want to say, Surbi, thank you so much. Specifically, I saw you, commenting and answering a lot of mine, and then Fran, I think that's the other person that I saw. But everybody, yeah, just too grateful.
Yeah, okay, we'll close it there. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We are running a Women Leading People interview every week with other inspiring women who are people managers. So if you'd like, you can register and subscribe to the channel to make sure that you get notified for when we have other interviews. But we'll have some snippets coming out from today's interview with Ashna. Ashna, thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for everyone who attended and has been engaging with us in the comments. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, evening, and hopefully see you at the next interview.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Eva. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.